Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the June 13th meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp. I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with the roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
McKinnon?
Present.
Mr. Tolles?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Chair Sharp?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purpose of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I have a motion?
I so move, Madam Chair. Second.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Are there any director's remarks, Mr. Ragsdale?
No, ma'am. And I do not have a secretary's report, so I will go into procedure for the meeting. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after the parties have been heard, the chair will ask the board members if they have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and then take a final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we certainly welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. With our procedures explained, I would now like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 26 as the consent agenda, Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individually, please come forward and give us the item number, and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you please proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1 has been withdrawn. Item number 2, case SUP 2024-015 in Westwood. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps in the commercial mixed-use 1 district located at 4471 3rd Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 3, case MJR 2024-012 in East Memphis. The request is site plan approval for an indoor storage facility located at 0 Germantown Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 4, case MJR 2024-018 in Cordova. The request is a major modification to allow motor vehicle sales located at 6347 Gillespie Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 8, case MJR 2024-025 in Raleigh. The request is a major modification to the Primacy Oaks Office Park PD to allow a child care center located at 5158 Stage Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-027 in Cordova. The request is site plan approval for a laundromat located at 1569 Chickering Cove. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-028 in the University area. The request is a major modification to add an additional lot to the Alliance Plan Development located at 602 Malcolm Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-030 in unincorporated Shelby County. The request is a major modification to the Micro Soccer Complex PD to allow a new fire station located at 9000 East Shelby Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 13, case MJR 2024-031 in Core City. The request is a major modification to allow site modifications at Parkview, located at 1914 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 14, case MJR 2024-032 in Southeast Memphis. The request is a major modification to remove condition 6A from the outline plan conditions of the Kirsch Plan Development located at 6870 Winchester Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 15, case SUP 2024-008 in the University area. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps in the commercial mixed-use 1 district located at 3487 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 17, case 2024-005 in Fraser. The request is an amendment to the Fraser Business Center PD to allow a landfill and recycling center located at 3086 Cautious Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 18, case PD 2024-006 in Cordova. The request is a new plan development for commercial uses located at 2606 Appling Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 19, case 2024-007 in Cordova. The request is a new plan development to allow a new school located at 7801 Fisher Still Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 20, case S 2023-045 in South Memphis. The request is a 2-lot residential minor subdivision located at 1661 Patton Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 21, case S 2024-015 in Cordova. The request is a 2-lot residential major re-subdivision of 8965 Freeman Oaks Cove. Staff recommendation is a hold for 1 month. Item number 22, case S 2024-016 in Fraser. The request is a 2-lot residential major re-subdivision located at 1580 Roosevelt Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, rejection of street and sidewalk improvement waiver along Overly Avenue. Item number 23, case S 2024-018 in Cordova. The request is a 2-lot commercial major re-subdivision located at 6224 Macon Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 25, case SUP 2024-017 in the University area. Request is a special use permit to allow a drive-through restaurant in CMU1 zoning located at 4615 Quince Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 26, case SUP 2024-018 in East Memphis. The request is a special use permit to allow apartments located at 5225 Summer Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Okay, we have pulled numbers 5, 7, 11, 16, and 24. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with one vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items numbers 5, 7, 11, 16, and 24 will have full independent public hearings or be heard. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings, and where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 2, case SUP 2024-015 as a hold. Item number 3, case MJR 2024-012 as a hold. Item number 4, case MJR 2024-018 as a hold. Item number 8, case MJR 2024-025. Item number 9, case MJR 2024-027. Item number 10, case MJR 2024-028. Item number 12, case MJR 2024-030. Item number 13, case MJR 2024-031. Item number 14, case MJR 2024-032. Item number 15, case SUP 2024-008. Item number 17, case PD 2024-005 as a hold. Item number 18, case PD 2024-006. Item number 19, case 2024-007 as a hold. Item number 20, case S 2023-045. Item number 21, case S 2024-015 as a hold. Item number 22, case S 2024-016. Item number 23, case S 2024-018. Item number 25, case SUP 2024-017 as a hold. And item number 26, case SUP 2024-018.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Chair,
Yes.
if you'd show me recused from case 14, please.
Okay. Refuse. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're going to go to Dr. Pritchard to my left. And she will pull the regular agenda.
Agenda item number 5, MJR 2024-020, Core City, major modification to allow a restaurant with a drive-through located at 1925 Union Avenue. The staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, are we going to hear 5 and 24 together? If so, I'd like you to read 24.
We're going to,
Are we going to? Okay, we're going to read 24.
all right.
It is a partner case to
All right.
5.
Agenda item number 24, SE 2024-001, Core City, special exception to 8.4.8E to allow less than the required building frontage for a drive-through restaurant located at 1925 Union Avenue. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, we're going to hear this and we're ready for the staff to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. Kendra Cobbs, Division of Planning and Development. I appreciate allowing us to group these two items together, being that it is for this one site, 1925 Union Avenue. So the applicant is requesting a special exception at this location to allow less than the required building frontage, and also a modification to allow a drive-through restaurant and a time extension for special use permit 2021-039. And so this is located in Midtown. It's in the Midtown Overlay District, and looking at the map to the right is our vicinity map showing where notifications were sent for the public hearing notices. The zoning for the property is commercial mixed use 3. So CMU 3, it is also in the Midtown overlay, as I've already mentioned. And in addition to that, with this being a modification, the special use permit 2021-039 also applies. Looking at the land use map to the right, the site is in the blue with the white star. It is in blue because this is the previous location of the police department traffic division. And so it's shown in blue on the land use map as an institutional use. Also to the south, you have Idlewild Elementary, and uses that are to the east and west are commercial. So just looking at some current photos of the site, these are photos from on-site, and so we're looking east and also northwest, and additional photos of the property looking towards the southwest, so expanding the entire site. So this request is for 1.06 acres. It is a smaller part of the overall lot, which overall is about 3.66 acres. But this request is just for a portion of that, 1.06 acres. And so the applicant is requesting a drive-through restaurant. The restaurant is proposed to be 3,305 square feet. And looking right up here where my cursor is, that is the building layout or the restaurant layout. There is also a proposed outdoor dining space in front that would front Union Avenue. And then right in here would be the drive-through menu board and speaker. There's numerous parking spaces on the site. I believe it's like 45 parking spaces. Code requires 11 parking spaces. And as I've mentioned, this is a portion of the overall site, so there would still be connections to the rest of the site from this particular 1.06 acres. But to access the restaurant site, this particular 1.06 acres, that's just off of Union. So here is the access point up here. And here are elevations of the proposed restaurant. It is a Whataburger. And so this would be, this top elevation would be the view from Union Avenue. And then this would be the back side of the restaurant. And then the elevations to the side, or the east and west. So in review of this application and this request, it is not consistent with our Memphis 3.0 plan. The future land use designation for the site, which you could see here, this is where we're talking about, is anchor neighborhood mix of building types. And so that pretty much consists of a mixture of residential uses that would be supported by transit-oriented development or transit-related uses. Also, I would like to point out that in addition to it not being consistent with the future land use plan, it is also disruptive to the proposed bus rapid transit line that is part of the Memphis Innovation Corridor, which would run from downtown to the Poplar Viaduct. And there are more details in the staff report. Specifically, that would be page 24 and 25 of the staff report, and this would be for the MJR request. So just to conclude, there's history for this particular request. It dates back to a special use permit from 2021. And in that special use permit, that was permitted to have a hotel at the site. So the hotel would be to the west of where we're talking about, where that approval was. But because this is an overall site of 3.66 acres, the modification comes in with the 1.06 acres that is included within the overall site. And so because also within that special use permit, 2021-039, at the time it was approved with conditions. And one of the conditions was that if a drive-through restaurant is proposed at the site where the hotel was going to be, or is proposed to be, or to the east where the retail uses were proposed, which is now where the Whataburger restaurant is proposed, that it would have to come back for a recommendation from the Land Use Control Board and also approval through City Council. In addition to that, this was, as I stated, a previous city property, and it went through a request for proposals process and was sold, and the intent for the property was for mixed-use development. So as it was proposed within the special use permit, the previous special use permit, there was the hotel, there was the retail, where now is the drive-through restaurant is being proposed, and also multifamily to the south. And so that was branded as Union Station. So now our request before us today is just for the 1.06 acres where the retail was proposed to be, which is now proposed for the drive-through restaurant, the Whataburger. In addition to all of that, because this is in the Midtown overlay, there are shop frontage requirements within the Midtown overlay. And one of those requirements is that you have to have a certain amount of the building within the setback area. So with this proposal, that is not being met, and there are more details in that within the special exception application. But the building frontage is not being met for our frontage standards within the Midtown overlay. And then I've mentioned the condition about coming back to Land Use Control Board and City Council if the drive-through use is proposed. That's why we're here today. Additionally, there is a time extension that would have to be approved because the time extension has expired. So there are a few things to consider with this application, or these two requests. Lastly, the request is inconsistent with our Memphis 3.0 plan. It is not consistent with walkability. It will be disruptive to the proposed bus rapid transit line, which would run right in front of where this is being proposed. So for these reasons, staff does see that there would be substantial and undue adverse effect upon the adjacent properties, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, and for these reasons, staff is recommending rejection. However, with the MJR application, both applications were recommending rejection. However, if you all would like to recommend approval, we do have the conditions that staff would like to incorporate if approval is recommended for this request. So that completes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Do we have any questions of Ms. Cobb at this time?
proclaim that those comments are largely related to our last proposal that was before you last month that did have the connection. Next slide. And this is our current proposal, a private drive, single entry point subdivision. Next slide. We believe that this is compatible with the development pattern of Fisherville. And for the purpose of this discussion, I'm using the term Fisherville that aligns with the former proposed city of Fisherville that went up to 64, down to Wolf River, and from roughly Houston Levee over to the county line. And if this map has been disseminated to you, Madam Chair, members, what this shows is the single entry point developments within Fisherville, and it pretty much encompasses every development that is not on a public road, a public historic country road throughout Fisherville. Some have private drives, those are in green, some have public drives. Now, I've spoken to Mr. Ragsdale about this, and he did mention that some of these are 4-acre lot developments, and so they were exempt tracts. 20 and 21 and 18, for instance, did not go to this body or through OPD. That said, many of these were approved explicitly with waivers by the Land Use Control Board. Next slide. And the entry point, Ms. Longstreet did mention that this is the point of contention, at least between OPD and the applicant, this point where Auburn Hills touches our development. Next slide. Auburn Hills was developed without sidewalk, curb, or gutter, and although it does stub into our development, our property, we believe that it probably wasn't seriously contemplated to make great connectivity, at least all the way over to Collierville-Arlington Road, given the fact that it lacks improvements and it is a rural cross-section roadway. Next slide. Now, as far as precedent, I mentioned that many of the developments in Fisherville were explicitly allowed as single entry point developments, but the next series of slides I'll go through very quickly show projects that this body approved that abutted a stub street, but nevertheless did not continue that stub street. So going back to 1975, these are in chronological order. Pecan Grove, next slide, and the red indicates the stub street that was not continued. Gardens of River Oaks PD in 1981, Haywood Road was not continued. Next slide. 1984, Racket Club Townhomes on Sanderlin, Meadowcrest Circle was not continued. Next slide. Also 1984, Woodmont Place right off of Shady Grove. Next slide. This is closer to our subject site, the enclave at Sparkle Creek. Kentwood Estates Drive was not continued. Next slide. Piggett's Greenbrier off of Shady Grove again. Next slide in 2004. And then more recently, that probably most members on this board remember, and very close to my house and affects my pedestrian pattern, is Elsley, where Elsley was specifically not continued between Cooper and Barksdale to the west. Next slide. And we believe that this was the product that these decisions by this board, although they did require waivers from the UDC and the 1981 zoning code before it and the 1955 code before that, not only benefited the developments themselves and made them stronger communities, but also made the abutting neighborhoods with those stub streets also more secure. With that, Madam Chair, I don't know if you have any cards, but if you do, I'd like to defer to those speakers and then save my time for rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. We do have one card in support of Tabor, Mr. Troy Tabor. Please come on up. Give us your name and address.
Good morning. My name is Troy Tabor. My address is 1279 Oak Lake Circle in Collierville. I represent the 50 residents of Auburn Woods subdivision. We've had 2 meetings now, along with some of the other residents outside of our subdivision with Mr. Lovell. Initially, we did not support the project because Auburn Woods Drive was going to connect into the neighborhood, which would increase our traffic. Now, according to the staff study, they're saying that they want to open it up, which would be very detrimental to our neighborhood. Currently, we have a lot of people that come from outside our neighborhood. They park, they walk their kids, their dogs around our neighborhood because it does only have one entrance and we don't have a significant amount of traffic there. If this road were to be opened, it would significantly increase the traffic, not only of the residents, but delivery vehicles, construction vehicles going through our neighborhood, which would basically destroy the neighborhood that we have built over the last 27 years. The concern is that with only one entrance into the neighborhood, it would not serve emergency vehicles or possibly keep us from going through the neighborhood to get out on the Collierville, Arlington. In the 27 years that the neighborhood Auburn Woods has been there, it has not been a factor for emergency vehicles coming in and out with one entrance. As a matter of fact, when our neighborhood was initially built, we actually got a variance to only have one entrance in our neighborhood. So that being said, we're in very strong support of not having that road continue. And one of the other things is, Mr. Lovell's wanting to put in a gated neighborhood, which will obviously have more expensive houses, increase the property values for us as well, because you'll have nicer homes and a gated neighborhood next to ours. So we strongly support Mr. Lovell in his endeavor here, but we do not support the extension of Auburn Woods Drive into that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr. Tabor at this time? Do we have anybody in opposition that wanted to speak? I don't have any other cards. Okay. Then I'm ready for the applicant again.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll close quickly. We respect DPD. I said OPD earlier because that was historically speaking about the 1980s and before. We respect the position that DPD and Ms. Longstreet have taken on this, but we respectfully believe that this section of the UDC was really written more for the core part and maybe the more suburban parts of Memphis and Shelby County, rather than this far-flung part of Shelby County, that the requirement to connect. When each of us buy our property, and I'll just speak personally, we weigh, whether consciously or subconsciously, several factors. My house, I have 62 ways to exit my house and walk my dogs every morning. I have placed connectivity very high, again, consciously or subconsciously, on my factor on where to live. Some people factor safety, because there's 62 ways for me to walk my dog, there's 62 ways for bad guys to come to my house. Some people, for a variety of factors, weigh security above connectivity. And while that may be more of a concern for the UDC's sake in the core city, we believe, just given the development pattern in Fisherville, not only does that section of the UDC really not apply here, but it does not apply here especially so because of just the development pattern of private street and otherwise single entry point communities. With that, I did want to make one point on this drawing. There was some concern expressed by Auburn Woods to the south about the existing tree canopy along our south property line. That south line, if you look just north of it, is about 20 feet north of our south property line. That is going to be a tree preservation area in order to maintain that tree cover that buffers us to Autumn Woods. Finally, the other handout that I believe you received and Ms. Longstreet showed on the projector was our proposed conditions. As she mentioned, number one was just a correction in spelling. I think both we and DPD have tried as we could to rename the subdivision to our south to Autumn Woods, but It's Auburn Woods. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 relate to the public streets and gating. And number 8 is in response to several conversations I've had with the county fire marshal. He does not object to this being a single entry point neighborhood, but he did ask that we prohibit on-street parking. And so I told him I would give him condition number 8 and the community. With that, Madam Chair, I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Do we have any questions of Mr. Whitehead at this time? Any questions?
Just one comment, an impressive, very impressive list of stub streets.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 7, S2024-011.
Second.
We have a second, we have a motion. Is there any further discussion for anyone?
I'm fine with these changes suggested by the applicant to the conditions only because the neighbors want it, the applicant wants it, there's no opposition to it. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to me connect streets that nobody wants connected. So if the board approves, I would agree to the conditions proposed by the applicant.
Okay.
Instead of the conditions proposed by DPD.
Gotcha. Anybody else? Okay,
And if there's no objection to that, then we can have that as the motion, but if there is, then we would need to discuss that. Without objection?
Madam Chair, I move that we amend the motion to include these proposed conditions.
Second.
okay.
Okay, without objection? Okay.
So it's a done deal on the amendment part. Okay. No more discussion? Any more discussion? Hearing none, I assume that we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Pritchard?
We go next to agenda item number 11. Is that correct, Madam
Yes,
Chair?
that is correct.
Agenda item number 11, MJR 2024-029, Whitehaven. Correspondence to Z01-137, major modification to the Goldsmiths SC-1 regional plan to subdivide a lot for a car wash located at 1300 East Shelby Drive. Recommendation is rejection.
Okay, we have the applicant here. Is there any opposition? No opposition? Okay, we're ready to hear the case. Pardon, we do have, okay, we do have one in opposition. Okay, now we're ready to hear the case. Ms. Hall?
I'm Latanya Hull from the Division of Planning and Development. I'm here to present case MJR 2024-0029. The applicant is SNS 1300 Shelby Drive Partners. The location is 1300 East Shelby Drive, which is a part of the Southland Mall in Whitehaven. The request is a zoning entitlement to trade allowable uses from vehicle services to allow a vehicle wash / car wash on a portion of the Goldsmiths Regional Shopping Center plan. Here is a location map as well as a vicinity map. As I mentioned, the subject property is located in the Whitehaven community. Attached also is the zoning map. The development is governed by the Goldsmiths Regional Shopping Center plan that was approved in 2001 as amended. The uses permitted in this plan is CMU2 allowed uses. However, the zoning, the PD did specifically restrict several uses, and car washes was one of those uses that was expressly prohibited in the plan development, which is why we're here today. Looking at the land use map, the subject property is represented by the pink star. Adjacent to the east is office use, which is a medical office building, as well as residential uses. Before you are site plans. The first is a look of the subject property from the southeast, looking down one of the primary drives to the Southland Mall property. At the bottom, we're looking north towards East Shelby Drive from within the Southland Mall parking lot. The top one is looking southwest from Shelby Drive, and the bottom is looking directly from Shelby Drive north to the mall property. The site plan calls for a single bay car wash with 3 curb cuts, one entrance and exit off of East Shelby Drive and 2 within the mall property. There will also be 18 self-service vacuum sites as well on the property. Also on this slide is an architectural rendering provided by the applicant of what that car wash would look like. After review of the proposal by comprehensive planning, it was determined that the proposal is inconsistent with Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan. The subject property is located in the community anchor. It is a neighborhood main street designation. The intent is for the developments in the area to be walkable and mixed-use centers. It is also includes residential units as well. One of the intents is for the unit to be, the development to be walkable to residents as well. So in conclusion, the applicant is seeking a use entitlement to allow a car wash on a portion of the existing parking lot of the Southland Mall. The applicant intends to add a drive-through car wash with 18 self-service vacuum bays. The site is currently governed by the Goldsmith Regional Shopping Center. Vehicle washes, as I mentioned, was expressly prohibited as a use. Staff recommends rejection of this request because it is not appropriate for this site, as it is incompatible with surrounding uses, current development trends for the site, which includes national retail/restaurant brands, and the future land use intent of the Memphis 3.0. Additionally, the development may harm the community by hindering the process of repurposing vacant land as temporary civic site, increasing the number of curb cuts, increasing vehicular traffic to and within the development, and negatively impacting pedestrian and cyclist safety. Public opposition received in response to this request cited concerns related to an oversaturation of car wash businesses in the area, of increased criminal and unwanted activities, noise pollution, increased demand on the water supply in the area, traffic congestion, and safety concerns. Staff believe that if approved, this use will have a substantial or undue adverse effect upon adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, parking, utility facilities, and other matters affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. Taking a closer look at some of the primary rejections concerns that have been brought up, incompatibility with current and future development. The goals for this development were for national retail, restaurant brands, civic uses, office, and mixed use. Looking at the top, this map here at the bottom shows some of the current developments within the Southland Mall development, as well as some future planned developments. We have developments such as AutoZone currently there, Starbucks,
Foot Locker is in the process of developing there as well. In this location, this is the subject property, as well as the Shelby County Department of Public Health is planning to develop in this area as well. The subject property is here. There is also a car wash immediately adjacent to this subject property. When we look at the negative impact on pedestrian and cyclist safety, there are 3 curb cuts on the proposed development, which will increase traffic on and along East Shelby Drive. It will also increase traffic entering into the development. There's already an existing entrance and egress immediately adjacent here to the mall. There's also an exit here into the mall property, as well as an entrance and an egress here as well. So the concern is that the walkability goal of this development will be obstructed by all of the additional curb cuts and the addition of the traffic that will be generated from this establishment. We also heard concerns over the oversaturation of car washes in the Whitehaven community. I did a quick Google search, and there are 2 car washes within a half a mile of the subject property directly down the street, and there are 4 within a mile of the development already. And lastly, noise pollution. The concern is noise from the car bay itself, car wash bay itself, the 8 vacuums that would be operating in the development, as well as potential music from cars that are using the facility, and that might impact the neighboring medical office as well as the residents. The recommendation, staff recommends rejection. However, if the board determines that approval is appropriate, staff recommends the following site plan conditions. A vehicle wash establishment is permitted and vehicle services are hereby prohibited for the subject parcel only. A site plan must be submitted for administrative review and approval by the Division of Planning and Development through the final plat process. A detailed landscaping plan shall be included as part of the final plat, and the general plan conditions remain applicable unless modified by site plan conditions 1 through 3 above. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Ms. Hull. Anybody have any questions of Ms. Hull at this time? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and hear from the applicant. You have 10 minutes.
I just want to, I'm Bruce Lynn, I'm with TTL, I'm representing the property, I'm the engineer representing the applicant. Just want to thank you all for letting me come by, and I would have a better...
Sir, we need your name and address.
682 Hamilton Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Excuse me. I would have a more extensive presentation, but our car got stolen yesterday. And I'm not trying to get sympathy or anything, but our car did get stolen yesterday, and all of our presentation materials were in it. But we are a fully automatic car wash. I believe the 2 that are nearby, just down the street, are hand washes. They are not fully automatic. We also have vacuum services, 18 vacuum bays, and they will have a little bit of noise, but the developer is prepared to put noise dampening or any sort of thing that we've done in previous areas. And we've actually had to do something similar to that in Bartlett. We are actually building another one in Bartlett, Tennessee, and that was the rendering shown earlier. It was from that site. And the lot is currently vacant. This would bring, I think, a much needed automatic car wash to the area. Now there are some about a mile away, but there are a number of car detail businesses in the area and car-centric retail businesses like AutoZone, and across the street there are tire shops that we think could benefit from this. And then Club Car Wash is a respected brand, not across the country. They are expanding very rapidly. They have everything up from Wisconsin all the way down to Texas, pretty much across the Mississippi line, and they are rapidly expanding into Tennessee, with Memphis being one of their targets. And the hours of operation for noise would be, it varies across the board, but it's about 7 to 8 a.m. to 7 to 8 p.m. There would be 3 employees on staff at all times, at least 3, and it'd be fully manned at all times. And I would like to bring up the curb cuts, if you could go back to that slide. Thank you. There are existing. So that one onto East Shelby is existing already there. Then the other 2 curb cuts are pretty much already there. It is a parking lot for the mall. All of it is paved. We are actually proposing a lot less impervious than what's there. And we are prepared, again, for a landscaping plan to be very vibrant and try to bring a little more forestry and garden, just any sort of plant to just a parking lot right now. And there was, if you bring back up the AutoZone and everything right there. Yes. So originally, I think you all remember the Southland Mall had a Sears Auto Center where basically Starbucks and AutoZone were. And that was approved to be like a special use because I think in the original plan for the development, car services and car washes were not permitted, but that was a special use due to the anchor Sears wanting the auto center there. And of course, Sears went away in 2019, but that special use was there for a good amount of time. And this would be a similar business bringing to the area. So something that was already there, something basically moving to the other corner. It's similar, at least. And I'd like to close, I guess, with bringing an established brand like Club Car Wash we feel would greatly help the area grow and bring other businesses to the area. They saw Starbucks and AutoZone come in and thought it was growing this area and wanted to invest in Memphis, invest in the Whitehaven community. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Randy Lane. I'm the engineering director for TTL. We're at 624 Grassmere Park in Nashville. We represent Club Car across the state of Tennessee right now. The one point that Bruce hadn't made that I wanted to bring up, the nature of malls is changing. We've seen it in my lifetime. I took my girlfriend / now wife and kids to the mall for years, but those malls are gone and malls are changing. The nature of car washes are changing. Where they used to be the put the quarter in and the hose runs for 90 seconds. These are automated washes, they're memberships, they're destinations, and the idea that Club Car Wash is proposing is they'll have several sites across Memphis when they're complete, so that if you buy a membership in Club Car Wash, you're not far from a site that you can stop and get the car washed at. If you've got the membership, you're good at any Club Car Wash. It's just, I think these rules, when they were written 20 some odd years ago, that car wash of 20 some odd years ago was probably not consistent with a mall site, but we're seeing these type of facilities included in all types of shopping areas as a destination, drawing people to them. So just would appreciate your consideration to allow this at this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicants at this time? Hearing none, we're ready to hear from the opposition. Give us your name and address.
Good morning. My name is Kenneth Edwards. My address is 4717 Woodridge Drive. My house backs up to Southland Mall. I'm the first house on Woodridge. The property, the car wash that would be put in would be backing up to my house. Those 18 vacuums and those 18 radios would be in my backyard. I would have no outdoor activities that I could participate in because I'd be relegated to my house. We mentioned Sears being built, and they had a car center. That car center was located at the other end of the mall at Elvis Presley and Shelby Drive, where there's no houses at. There's no residential area up there. Where they're proposing to put in is residential, and it would affect not only me, but the people up and down the street. The young lady presented the conclusions why car wash should not be permitted. And I have a letter, if I'm able to give it to someone, opposition from my next door neighbor, who's not a doctor. That doctor's business has been sold, but now he's a tax accountant. And he expresses opposition, but he cannot be here today. So I'd like to give that to someone here on the board if I could. Thank you. But I'd like for you to consider our conditions. We have an area that's relatively quiet right now, but with the traffic that would be brought into this car wash, we would lose that. And as much time as I spend outdoors, I don't want to be relegated to my house. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr.
Madam
Edwards?
Chair, if I may clarify a point made by the applicant. The applicant mentioned approval provided to Sears for a prohibited use. Actually, the service and repair is not a prohibited use. It's an allowed use under the PD. The special use permit that was provided in 2007 was to have the Avis rental car operating out of Sears. And as a condition of that operation, we restricted the number of vehicles that they could have to 10 so that we can mitigate any negative impact related to traffic. I just want to make that clarification.
Thank you. Okay, does the applicant have any rebuttal information for us today?
Other than, Mr. Edwards, we understand your concerns, and we would be more than willing to work with you to try to provide screening, greenscape, and try to move as much of that facility away from you as we could and buffer the sounds as much as possible. And I understand it's a quiet.
The sounds are going to be there.
Sir.
I'm sorry, we're not supposed to talk to each other.
Right.
No, you don't interrupt if he's speaking.
But we would be committed to try to work together with the adjoining property owners. We always do. This isn't meant to be a burden on anybody. But again, it is an empty lot now, and it would have something that generates activity.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any further comments? I do have a comment myself because I live in that area and I did drive. I know exactly where it is. In fact, it's right next door to a hand car wash. And the hand car wash address is 13 something. And your address would be 1300. So I know exactly where it is, but you can step from one lot to the other there. And I'd just like to make that clear. Is there anything else? Anybody else want to say anything?
Yes, that while I appreciate business and I wish you all success at your other locations, I just can't support it being there. That's a tough one for me, and I'd like to see something else with that entire area, and that just does not go with what we need in that community. Thank you.
I'd like to say something else. There's also some illegal car washing there, not you all, but just people just sitting out there doing car wash, and I've seen that in the past. But anyway, if there's no further comments or questions, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard.
Yes, move approval of agenda item number 11, MJR 2024, -029, Whitehaven, correspondent to Z01137.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. Do you want to do it individually?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
I'll do that. Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming, Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Mr. Toles,
No.
Mr. Thomas, Ms. Wilbanks, Dr. Pritchard,
No.
Vice Chair Miles Wallace, Chair Sharp,
No.
motion fails.
Motion fails. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Dr. Pritchard?
Madam Chair, I think we go now to agenda item number 26.
16.
Oh, 16, excuse me. Yes, agenda item number 16, PD 2024-004, Lamar, amendment to the Lamar Crossing PD to allow mini storage located at 2899 Lamar Avenue. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay. Do we have any, I see the representative is here. Do we have any opposition?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we're gonna hear the case because of the rejection.
Alexis Longstreet with the DPD presenting on case PD 2024-004. Property is located at 2899 Lamar Avenue. This is a request to amend a previous plan development to allow a mini storage. As y'all can see here, this property is located in the Lamar area. Here's a vicinity map showing the current property as well as the surrounding property owners. A lot of this zoning in this area is residential, urban, or residential, and then a mix of commercial uses in different levels of intensity. The future land use map from DPD, this property is designated as a vacant land use. Here are some current site photos as this property currently sits vacant. There is a Family Dollar that was developed that is located here to the northwest of the property as it already sits. This property is located in Area B of the existing plan development, which was designated for retail uses. And this is the concept plan that was proposed by the applicant. I will note that the landscape plan was not included on my part, but they are providing Class 2 Plate A3 landscaping buffers here along Lamar and as well as the rear of the property as it abuts to single-family residential uses. We are recommending rejection based on the fact that this property is designated as low-intensity commercial by Memphis 3.0 comprehensive planning. It was deemed inconsistent in their analysis as well. And in their low-intensity commercial, they do not allow mini storage from the impacts of traffic and occupancy and density on said properties. So some of the conclusions as laid out, as I mentioned earlier, this proposal is an amendment to existing plan development for Lamar Crossing PD of 2006. The designated area is Area V, which is permitted commercial mixed-use 2 uses. The applicant is requesting the self-storage, which is a special use permit triggered within the UDC. this as well will not, the proposal itself will not have substantial and undue adverse effects based in just the UDCs in our DPD, but in terms of the future land use and as well as Memphis 3.0 consistency, it will have a substantial and undue adverse effect. As I also have someone from comp plan staffing who also did the analysis, but that last conclusion there that is added in the presentation is that the proposed amendment was considered inconsistent based on not only the future land use and intensity, but as well as Lamar, Kimball, Pendleton, up to Dunn Avenue, which are all major intersections that run up Lamar, is being included in the boundary for a proposed safety intersection project. And so that is another reason why this case will be considered for rejection by staff. This concludes my presentation.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we're ready for you. Mr. Smith, give us your name and address.
Delano Smith. Delano Smith, 3831 Lakehurst Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38128. We had a neighborhood meeting, and we have no opposition to this project. We were on site many times, and plenty of the neighbors asked questions about it. They seemed to be okay with the description that we gave them as to what we were doing. And the property has been there for years. Our research, we went back maybe 30 years and found no development on this property. It's just been sitting there vacant. The owner has taken very good care of the property and brought it, keeping it clean at this point. And the intended landscape is going to be, should be very intense, and we expect to have it so that it will shadow the lower elevations of the buildings at the perimeter of the property. And in additional landscaping that the department requests, the owner has been, to improve the aesthetics of the property. The owner has said that he has no problem providing that additional landscaping. And also, if there should be, there was some concern about the detention, and we've already discussed that, and we have no problem with providing that additional on-site detention if required by the engineering department. And the site will be constructed with a security system that would be state-of-the-art, that would create an overlapping effect with the adjacent properties, which would make this site much more secure and also more safer, and make the area safer. The 30,000+ square feet facility will provide additional storage for the neighbors, for the small businesses in the area, and the owner has, we've looked at the fact that a lot of the businesses going to remote and e-commerce, and many of the businesses are needing additional storage in this area. A lot of the small businesses, and we've noticed that within more than 3 miles radius or more, there are no facilities equal to this facility that's being proposed here. And like I said earlier, we have no opposition, and we are definitely going to provide a facility here that will enhance the community and provide additional storage and things, facility that the neighborhood and small businesses will need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do we have any questions of Mr. Smith?
I have comments, not a question to him. I'm in opposition because it's just, I would I just don't see where this enhances that community. We need different types of businesses in that area. And you mentioned that there was no opposition. It wouldn't surprise me if no one even showed up when you all had the meeting. I mean, was it attended?
No one showed up.
That's what I thought. It is, and someone has to speak up for these communities. And I am in opposition to building a storage facility in this area. And it's nothing against your client or the owner of that. It's just I wish there was a different type of business being proposed there. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cole, did you have something? Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close the public portion of this meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 16, PD 2024-004.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. We're going to do individual or, okay, thank you.
Mr. Gill? No. Mr. Fleming? No. Mr. McKinnon?
Abstain.
Mr. Thomas? No. Mr. Tolles? Ms. Wilbanks?
No.
Dr. Pritchard?
No.
Vice Chair Miles Wallace?
No.
Chair Sharp?